Hello everybody. In terms of managing time a little bit better at Melrose, I decided that I'd give you a bit of an introduction to Universal Design for Learning and Understanding by Design as an online lecture. So Understanding by Design is a book written by Grant Wiggins and James Tighe that offers a framework for designing courses and content units called Backwards Design. So typically as teachers we focus on course design in a forward design way, like we think about the learning activities, which is how to teach the content, and then we develop assessments around the learning activities, and then we attempt to draw connections to the learning goals of the course. Backwards by Design has a different way of approaching it. So we consider the learning goals first. And those learning goals embody the knowledge and skills instructors want the students to have when they've finished the course. So once the learning goals have been established, the second stage of UBD involves consideration of assessment. And that backwards design framework suggests that teachers need to consider the overarching learning goals and how students will be assessed prior to making any decisions about how to teach the content. So backwards design is considered a much more intentional approach to course design than traditional methods of design. So my learning intentions for this lecture and this information for you are that you'll know the difference between Understanding by Design and Universal Design for Learning, and then you'll be able to apply that learning to the unit outlines from Melrose High and see what we can find of these learning theories and in those unit outlines. Now, I will say you won't be able to find all of it because they're unit outlines, not course outlines. But we'll see what we can find. So, I've already talked to you about Understanding by Design, and you can see there the short summary of what I told you there. Now, Universal Design for Learning is a framework to improve and optimise teaching and learning for all people based on scientific insights about how human beings learn. The framework guides the design of instructional goals, assessments, methods and materials that can be customised and adjusted to meet individual needs. UDL guidelines are a tool used in the implementation of UDL. And these guidelines offer a set of concrete suggestions that can be applied to any discipline or domain to ensure that learners can access and participate in meaningful, challenging learning opportunities. And the guidelines are that we provide our students with multiple means of engagement, representation, and action and expression. UBD in a nutshell is a really fantastic resource, and I've given you the link there. I'd encourage you to pause the video and go and have a look at that PDF. Welcome back. So you've now seen the UBD in a nutshell document, and this is one of the pages from it. The reason I wanted to include this page is I specifically wanted us to look at the concept of students grasping big ideas, which is that point there in point 3. The concept of transferring learning. So it's not just about classroom learning, it's about what students are going to do with this information in the long term. We need to be explicit in our learning goals. And key point down here, number 7, there's an enormous amount of learning goals that we can have for a unit. We need to only list the goals that we are specifically teaching content around and specifically assessing. Okay, so backwards design, which is another way of talking about understanding by design. So you've got, what do we want our students to know? What is acceptable evidence that proves that our students have understood what we want them to know? And therefore, how are we going to plan what we're teaching? So in an ideal world, at the time I'm recording this, I haven't received them yet, but I have asked Melrose for the unit outlines for the units that we're teaching. So what I want you to do now is pause the video and drop onto Canvas and have a look at one of the unit outlines. If we haven't got the unit outlines from Melrose when you're watching this video, see if you can find a unit outline from somewhere else. And I want you to interrogate those unit outlines and see what you can find in terms of backwards design. What can you find in terms of the ways that the learning goals for the unit are present in the content and are present in the assessment? Can you see the link between the desired results for the unit and how it's being taught? Make some notes, and we'll talk about this on Monday. Okay, so now we'll jump across to universal design. So the first component of universal design for learning is understanding universal design. So do that. I'll get you to watch this video. I'll put the link to the video up as well separately on Canvas.
In the 1980s, a designer by the name of Sam Farber noted...
Okay. And now into universal design for learning. These two videos, they're very short. They explain it much better than I can. The key points that I want you to be thinking about in terms of UDL are the guidelines. So multiple means of engagement, multiple means of representation, multiple means of action and expression. So once you've watched these two videos with the guidelines in mind, I want you to go back and look at those unit outlines again that you looked at before. Can we see any evidence of multiple means of engagement, representation and action and expression?
Hello and welcome.
Okay, so these were my learning intentions. Hopefully you've achieved what I've got there. So having been introduced, or reintroduced if you knew it already, to UBD and UDL, I'd like you to take some time to think about your own lesson planning and set yourself some goals in terms of how you're planning on incorporating your learning about UBD and UDL into your practice. Thanks, team.